This week's winner, the IPO Index, again, with a stellar end to Q2. This week's loser, the IPO market's hottest theme.
And with the best IPO quarter in years and three successful listings this week, is the empty calendar a pause or a setup? Let's get into it with this week's winners and losers.
Quick note before we dive in, this podcast is for informational purposes only, and nothing we discuss should be taken as investment advice or a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any security. Past performance does not guarantee future results, and one cannot invest directly in an index. For the full disclosure, check the end of this recording. So
Avery,
let's walk
before
through.
we get into it,
Oh,
did you see that ludicrous display last night? That's another way of asking if you saw the soccer game.
I'm not I'm not much of a World Cup fan. I know
Oh
that's kind
no.
of heresy.
Yeah. Now I will say I'm not a fair weather fan. I've been ride or die U.S. men's national team for weeks now. But if we lost, I would probably have renounced my citizenship and moved to Bosnia and Herzegovina. That was who we played last night. We won, by the way. But
Well, I guess we're lucky then.
yeah, no, skill, all skill. All right, sorry.
No, no problem. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be a hit for the World Cup fans, but
Hmm.
unfortunately, I
Whoosh.
not a sports girl. No.
Uh-huh.
So let's walk through the week now. Though the number that matters most isn't the weeks, but the quarters. There were a lot of headlines in Q2, but this one is the whole story. The IPO index ended up 42% compared to the S&P 500 15% gain. That's the basis for pretty much all of our optimism heading into Q3.
Yeah, no doubt. That and the successful SpaceX listing, of course. The logic is simple. IPOs pick up when new stocks outperform. When buyers make money on the last batch, they come back for the next one.
Yeah, and to build on that, three deals priced this week. All three traded up initially. So that's a pretty clean sweep.
Yeah, and the interesting thing to me is that despite that monster quarter we just witnessed in the IPO index, we're not seeing the same enthusiasm with new listings. Not half of them anyway, which we can talk more about in a minute. But just to put a button on the framing for this week, we've got a thin IPO calendar ahead. Not unexpected right after July 4th, but starting next week, we really need to see some of these names move forward.
Yeah, but heading back to the deal side, let's start with what actually got done. First up, we had Bending Spoons, which is that digital business acquirer. They priced above the range, raised $1.7 billion, and then popped 40%. Came back down a bit in the aftermarket, but still definitely the standout for the week.
Yeah, that one was very interesting to me. It shows that even out of favor software stories can have a second life. That was the one that had Eventbrite, AOL. Uh, Avery, I did have a bit of a George Costanza moment last week when you said that you didn't like the name for their employees, Spooners. And I thought afterward, well, it could be worse. They could be called Forkers. I just had to get that in. Sorry. It was too good not to
No,
say
yeah,
that,
that's a great reference.
but so then, of course, beyond bending spoons trading up, we had ITG, that's broadband engineering services, backed by Oaktree. That deal was interesting. It priced well below the range. It climbed 11% on day one, and then pulled back significantly on day two. So, it's fair to say that PE firms are just scouring their portfolios looking for industrial companies that have some sort of AI data center growth angle and then just bringing them to market. It looks like some of these are working, looking at Ineo, Madison Air, maybe Doncasters, and then some of them are not, like EROC and looks like now ETG or ITG.
hmm Yeah, this is something that I touched on in a piece we did earlier this week, looking at AI infrastructure as kind of the latest buzzword, where companies are just kind of throwing in data center into their
Hmm.
prospectus and hoping it sticks. Yeah, in some cases it's working. They have real exposure to this build out and they're doing well. And then some, I think investors are kind of already seeing through
Hmm.
that really kind of superficial. Me too.
Hmm. Hmm.
And with ITG, there's something interesting going on when a deal prices that far below the range and still trades up double digits. But in this case, that early, maybe AI related demand just wasn't as sticky as they probably had hoped.
Yeah, and then beyond that, we had Lime. That's the bike and e-scooter rentals. That one priced at the midpoint. ended the week flat. So, Lime waiting for years for its window, and it finally got it. I don't think anyone was expecting anything too crazy here. It's just the best operator but in an industry that has had its share of trouble. So I think, both things were true there.
Hmm. Different sectors, different pricing outcomes, all solid debuts, even if day two wasn't the best. So we're seeing that breadth, not just one hot name carrying the week.
Yeah, agreed. And we'll want to see more of that breadth as we carry this Q2 momentum into Q3.
Yeah, and not everything got done. The miss is worth talking about for a minute. That was Vedanta's CopperTech Metals, which postponed its $400 million IPO, citing market conditions.
Not a common occurrence this year either. The last official IPO postponement was Clear Street in February, so some additional context here. The postponement follows a string of kind of uninspiring returns from mining IPOs, so this one was not exactly a one-off. Could also have been some deal-specific issues here. I know our analyst said that he had to work a lot to untangle the structure, and on top of that, here's a company that's not long ago in a bitter dispute with the government of Zambia over that mine, so.
Yeah, it tells us the bid is broad, but it's not indiscriminate. Investors are still drawing lines.
Yeah, and that's actually the reassuring part. A market that just says no to something is a market that's doing price discovery and not just chasing everything.
Hmm. And that's important as we start looking ahead because the calendar suddenly gets very short. We just have one deal on the roster, but oh boy, what a deal.
Hmm.
It's SK Hynix, which is gearing up for its $25 billion plus US cross listing.
Yeah, no formal deal launch this week, but looking at their Korean filings, they had indicated a July 10th trade date. The scale is just huge. The memory chip giant's shares are up more than 200% year to date in Korea, with over a $1 trillion market cap. So this is an AI memory story that's striking while the iron's hot. And just to emphasize that, their net income jumped from 5 billion in the first quarter of last year to 25 billion in the first quarter of this year.
Yeah, it's a huge company. It's going to be an interesting deal. It's kind of maybe not unsurprising for a cross listing to be accelerated like this. But with a company this huge, it's definitely, and I think not as well known to American investors. Um, it's interesting that how little time they're going to get to really, I think, dig into the details of the deal.
Hmm.
But yeah, cross listing, like I said, not a typical IPO, can sometimes get less attention because it's traded elsewhere. But at this size, it dominates the week by itself.
Absolutely. Also waiting in the wings, we've got C Square, a data center owner, and then Standard Nuclear on SMR fuel. So both kind of plug in to the AI power theme.
So even the quiet week has the potential to be thematically loud. Memory, data centers, nuclear fuel, all downstream of kind of that same AI demand. But we actually saw a shift away from the AI theme in the pipeline this week with some unexpected names. We had two kind of fun additions, Jersey Mike's and Cumberland Farms, sandwiches and convenience stores. I know that in college I went to both a lot, so excited to
Oh,
see those in the IPO pipeline.
I wish there was a Jersey Mike's near me. Not a whole lot in New York City, but I like them.
Mhm.
Interesting too, because this is also the opposite of that AI moonshot trade. We're looking at boring, cash generating, consumer facing businesses. Maybe a bit of that AI resistant theme we were talking about in Q1.
And it's interesting because consumer has been absolutely punished all year. But these are profitable, well-known brands, and I think importantly, with a history of executing on growth plans.
And that might be the point here. If the market can absorb both a $1 trillion chip maker and a sandwich chain, that's real depth. But I know Jersey Mike's valuation was rumored to be around 12 billion in January. I think they'd struggle to get that now, but restaurant stocks have stabilized over the past month, and really I do applaud them for moving forward. I get so annoyed when I see these companies that are just waiting for the perfect market. They're waiting for years. And I appreciate it when stock is willing to make the leap even when market conditions are not totally ideal.
Hmm. You heard it here. We're rooting for you, Jersey Mike's.
Yeah.
Now to the scoreboard for existing new stocks. It was a solid week with some twists. The IPO index ended the week up 1.1%, so slightly lagging the S&P 500, which closed up 1.8%. Yeah, a slight divergence from the pattern we saw at the end of Q2.
Yeah, with the IPO index this week, definitely a last shall be first and first shall be last kind of week. Figure led the IPO index winners up 25%. Haven't seen fintech up there in the winner's circle lately. I like Figure though. I think the blockchain angle means people often confuse it for like a crypto play, but it does have a strong lending business underneath. And then we've got defense company Carmen, number two, followed by three software sellers, all trading up, SailPoint, Figma, and Rubrik. If we're seeing a software rebound, then that's very good news for the IPO pipeline.
Yeah. And another twist there, the losers were mostly AI infrastructure names, which sank on news that Meta would be launching a cloud infrastructure business.
Yeah, right. CoreWeave at the bottom of the index, down 15%. That's a competitive threat headline, not a demand problem. I know SpaceX did pull back a little bit on that news too. Remember that Starlink is really the high quality earnings of that play, while they have less of a competitive moat around that NeoCloud story, at least until we get orbital data centers.
Yeah, so worth keeping an eye on how it all plays out. When a hyperscaler moves in-house, the arms dealers get re-rated. So this maybe could be the real first or the first real crack in the AI infrastructure trade.
I mean, Meta just has that bazooka of cash. You have to worry when they're willing to move in.
Meta does everything. They do the glasses with the cameras
Right.
and
If
the
something's working, Meta will try and acquire it or build it or copy it.
yeah, good old Zuck.
Yeah.
So zooming out, what does the quarter and this week actually add up to? The setup is as good as it's been. Like you said, Matt, best IPO quarter in years, three clean wins this week, and the IPO index is still outperforming.
Right. And the breadth is the real signal here from bending spoons to Lime to ITG, all getting done and the market finding a clearing price.
But the market's still selective. CopperTech pulled on headwinds in the mining sector, so buyers are saying yes and no.
And that new wrinkle we were just talking about, the meta headline shows that AI infrastructure isn't bulletproof. There is competitive risk entering the conversation now.
And at the same time, some of those out of favor themes are trading up now. So now the calendar's about to test the AI conviction with that one mega deal next week. So now, what are we watching as we head into this quiet week? Above all, SK hynix. That's a $25 billion plus cross listing. It's the whole calendar. First deal of Q3, so even as a more unique deal, how it lands could definitely set the tone.
Right. And of course, we'll see how AI infrastructure IPOs react after the meta news. Do we see some of that competitive weakness spread, or was it more of a one-day reaction? I mean, we did have Cerebras rebound a bit this week. Very volatile stock, but nonetheless, decent trading.
Yeah, and then the pipeline. Jersey Mike's and Cumberland Farms testing appetite for those out of favor consumer names, and several other deals, probably still hoping to capitalize on that AI infrastructure demand.
All right. Best quarters in the books. Now we'll see if the summer delivers.
Yeah, it's going to be a hot one, so stay
Oh, good
cool.
one. It is.
So that's it for this week's winners and losers. Get the full newsletter in your inbox by clicking the link in the description. Thanks for listening. And before we go, please listen carefully to our full disclosure. This podcast is for informational purposes only. Renaissance Capital statements should not be considered investment advice or a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any particular security. Certain of the statements contained may be statements of future expectations and other forward-looking statements that are based on Renaissance Capital's current views and assumptions and involve known and unknown risks and uncertainties that could cause actual results, performance, or events to differ materially from those expressed or implied in such statements. Past performance does not guarantee future results. One cannot invest directly in an index.